Hello, BookTube. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Rebecca.
And today is the worst day.
The worst day.
Today is the worst of 2017.
These were books that we did not like this year.
Yeah, just the books that we read this year. Which
yes,
were,
they didn't come out this year.
Yeah.
And real quick, just because we didn't like these books doesn't mean they're like, they blow assholes or anything. Like,
Mine do.
The first book I picked is called Written in the Stars by Aisha Saeed.
Oh, but it sounds so non-cliche.
So this book is about a girl who is the daughter of very strict immigrant parents from Pakistan.
Okay.
And they don't want her to date, and she's dating a boy, and they find out, so they're like, we're gonna go to Pakistan this summer. And they, like, kind of arrange a marriage for her. It's okay.
Alright.
So the author who wrote this is from an arranged marriage, a very successful one. And she kind of, like, wrote about it at the end, and she was like, I trusted my parents to find the right person for me, and it seemed to work out. And I really wish that she had written a book that talked about that, I guess.
Because was it a positive view about arranged marriage?
No, it was not a positive view about arranged marriage.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine.
If that was her experience, I feel like she could have made a stronger book with
I know. That. My biggest problem with this book is I think she was trying to, like, highlight some of the horrible things that girls go through with their parents in arranged marriages, which I get.
Yeah.
But this isn't a nonfiction book. She wrote a fiction book. And I always feel a little weird being like, your book still has to be entertaining in a way, or your character still has to have an arc when you're talking about something that's real.
But if you're not going to have an arc or a compelling story, then write a nonfiction book.
Yeah, that's informative. So her protagonist is very naive, and it takes her a very long time to realize, like, she's not leaving Pakistan, and she's being forced into a marriage. Throughout the rest of the book, she doesn't do anything, really. She just kind of, like, is getting pushed along, and some horrible things happen to her that she didn't really have a choice, and I understand that. But basically, like, I'm going to spoil this book, so just... Spoilers. Skip to when I get rid of the picture, if you don't want to hear it. Yeah. So she, I've started skimming the last, like, 50 pages, by the way. I was just like, come on, I'm, like, reading the dialogue. But anyway, she just doesn't do anything. She just goes along. She ends up getting forced into a marriage, so she's, like, married to this dude and is living with him and his family. And she just kind of goes along with it. And her boyfriend from America comes to save her. And she's just kind of like, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't be here. And then he, like, fights her husband, and then they leave. And just at no point does she, like, do anything.
I don't know, maybe you shouldn't be here.
That's basically it.
Okay, I'll go.
She's just like a doll. Like, it's very weird. And on top of that, there's rape apology. Not cool. There's a rape scene, and at no point do they use the word rape, which is like a big no. If you're going to talk about rape, you have to say the word rape.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be explicit. And it almost makes it sound like they don't believe what happened to her was rape, because her husband rapes her. And there are a lot of people who believe that your spouse can't rape you, which they can, obviously.
Yeah.
And then she kind of has a moment where the narrative's kind of like, we get why he did it, and I'm like, no. And she, like, kind of feels bad for leaving him at the end, and I'm like, why? He's a rapist. It's just, it was just so icky. It was so icky. Sorry to start it with a downer.
Well, there's nowhere to go from up. The first one I want to mention, Wild Bells to the Wild Sky.
Yes! We haven't brought it up!
So I know everyone's been wondering if they saw any of our really early videos.
What's the deal
with Wild Bells? I'll tell you right now, the deal is, it's practically false advertising. It is such a boring book. It looks like some crazy, exotic, tropical island book. It's a historical romance, heavy on the historic, light on the romance.
Ugh.
And it was so boring. Oh my god, I didn't finish it.
Oh, me neither.
It's still on my list of worst, based on the...
It's okay.
I think I passed 30%.
That's pretty impressive. I got to page 2.
I told you before you started, Don't read the first 10 pages.
I skipped the first... I got
So you read the first 2 pages after the first 10 pages?
Yes, and I still...
The prologue is a killer.
It's just like a historical lesson.
The prologue is written like a history book. That's not a joke. It's not written like a narrative. It's just like, this is where we are in history before this story begins. But it's written like, and then King Henry. Like, it's not written...
Interesting.
It's not how you write a book, even.
This isn't how you write a book.
It's just it's written like a history book. Which, if you're interested in that and you want a little crammed into your romance, that's okay, I guess. I don't. So, romance novels, there's like a history to... There are trends in romance novels, and maybe I'll make a video about it at some point, because I have some opinions about the time period of books that you should read. In particular, 80s. And maybe late 70s. Written in those periods of time were around the time when romance books were like mainstream. And there was a lot of shit and a lot of repetition of story. And a lot of just pushing things out. Factory style writing where you push things out quickly and you have other people write the sequels. It just resulted in some really boring books. And there's still Harlequin and Regency both still kind of do this.
Yeah.
Basically what happened is they'll look like some fun stuff and it's just like, I will stay away from entire decades of romance books unless I hear like a million positive things about it because it's just not worth the risk. It's gonna be awful. What a fucking disappointment. What a disappointment.
I want to issue a formal apology to Matthew.
Oh, he, like, I don't know how far he got, but...
Because Matthew got the book.
Yeah.
And read it.
It's a
I think he
book.
DNF'd it.
I'm pretty sure. Guess. I think he got farther than I did, though.
That's impressive. 26, as far as
Not that I read.
Oy.
There probably was later.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is those old books,
I want to drag on for 200 pages.
They'll have, like, 2 sex scenes, maybe. Is a lot of those older books. It's like...
We need the tentacles. Those books with then tentacles on it.
Well, but the books with tentacles, though, they know what people want, and that's what they're going to put in. So, statistically speaking, a book with tentacles on the cover is probably going to be better. I'm just saying.
I only have 3 more books that I kind of want to bitch about. I had a pretty good year, and they're all really highly rated and praised. And the first one is, I've bitched about before, and it's The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender.
Okay. Which,
I think my first problem with Ava Lavender was that it's very flowery writing-wise, which I'm learning is not for me. The last time I bitched about this, I did mention that it has the trope of a woman has sex once and gets pregnant, and it does it twice with 2 different characters.
Twice? Come on.
Yeah. Like,
once you could be like, I know, but what are the odds?
Like, it happens. God. That sucks. But
like
2
twice,
different characters?
Like, this is like a fundamental flaw in your understanding of...
I'm wondering, because it was like a woman and then her daughter both had happened to, and I'm wondering, like, is there like something later on where... Because I DNF'd this book at 50%, and I still am putting it on my worst, I don't care. Does that happen to Ava Lavender, too? Like, does she also have sex once and get pregnant? Are they a really fertile, like family? Like, what's up? Yeah, so, yeah, not for me. I get it's pretty popular. No.
For me, the worst of this year was romance, and it was for the reasons kind of that I mentioned earlier. It was delving into stuff that was from this era of, like, mass production of shit. So I'll just mention a couple books in a row. One is Miranda.
Oh.
Which I don't think you read. We were going to buddy read it.
Did you start Amanda Miranda?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't even know!
Yeah, I DNF'd it, but I
don't blame you.
Tried.
How far did you get? I'm curious. Not very far.
Remember. Not halfway, but I tried.
Poor Amanda Miranda.
That description was so good.
So good.
Like, this was like, okay, Wild Bells to the Wild Sky. We went in like, I don't know what this book is about. We're gonna dive in and see what happens. And that's our fault.
Yeah.
Amanda Miranda, we read the description, and oh man,
it was fantastic.
It was epic in proportion. The other one that I want to mention is not a specific book, but an author. The author, Joanna Lindsey. Joanna Lindsey, I want to so hard. There's something so special about romance books because of their cover art. It's like a really special thing, romance cover art. And when you want to talk about special, like, the specialist of all is anything with Fabio on it.
Yeah, I mean...
Every single Joanna Lindsey book I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot, all have Fabio on the cover. Perhaps the reason is because all of her stories are the same. Anyway, that's my worst of the worst experience for 2017 is just to say that, like, if you want to do romance, you have to strategize and you have to do some research because it's some really great casual reads, but you just can't go in blind.
My next two I'm kind of putting together because they were mostly just like gross disappointments.
Yeah.
And they were gigantic. So like, and I felt obligated to finish them, so I did, and it was like such a time suck.
Yeah.
And the first one was American Gods, and I'm very sorry. After I finished American Gods, I went on Goodreads and looked at a bunch of 1-star reviews because can I validate myself? Because I was reading it and I was like kind of angry at parts and I wasn't really enjoying it. And I was like, well, that was just an awful experience. I don't think anything could top that. And then I read It. And by God, Stephen King was like, you thought that was a bad experience? And afterwards, I remember finishing it and being like, you know what, American Gods wasn't that bad. I was really being harsh on American Gods. Yeah. No.
The litmus test can't be whether or not it has an 11-year-old gangbang.
That's true.
We need better standards.
I know. Like, is that the bar I'm setting for male authors right now?
At least a 13-year-old gangbang.
So, It is on my list of worst for sure. I slogged through 1,000 pages of that bull crap and was rewarded with a bunch of 11-year-olds having sex.
That was the worst that 27 threw at us.
Yeah.
Which was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I felt like my best weren't that great, but my worst were, like, so disappointing.
Yeah. I had very few, but the ones that I didn't like
were bad.
Yeah. So what books did you fucking hate this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, let us know.
Let's share the hate.
Rant in the comments. It's fine. Even if I like the book, rant away.
Yeah, I'll take a good rant.
Yeah.
Next time, BookTube.